What's up, Misfits? This is Long Island Josh here with Lady Ashrose, and we're here to discuss tonight's Monday Night Raw coming out of Kansas City, Missouri. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, Lady Ashrose has obviously been a part of the channel for a while, but she's slowly been watching wrestling. So I know you guys are used to Red and I talking, but we finally have an opportunity to bring Lady Ash in, and I'm fascinated by her perspective. So Red and I usually like to start the show, and we ask ourselves, overall, did you like the show?
I really liked this one. I felt like it was action-packed, I guess. There was a couple of more things that stood out more for me. Okay, so in the beginning, we'll talk about how Chris Jericho came out and he's doing his highlight reel, and The Miz and Maurice come out and they're like, no, this is Miz TV. That was kind of interesting. And then Dean Ambrose. I just love him.
Yeah, Red and I are well aware of how much you love Dean. Again, because you guys aren't aware of backstage stuff, she's been watching for a few weeks, so she's starting to know her stuff. She's picking up on things, so it's gonna be a fun discussion. So, like you said, Raw opened up, and Chris Jericho came out, and he had the highlight reel. Now, this is his normal talk show segment he does,
and it's supposed to be, well, it could be the last one that he does too, so it was kind of a big deal for him, because if he wins against Kevin Owens, then he's going to be going to SmackDown.
See, you know your stuff, and I'm it's great. So exactly, so Jericho comes out and he teases everyone that's probably going to be the last highlight reel, because like you said, he's going to win and get traded over to SmackDown. But then newly SmackDown coming to Raw person, The Miz came out with his wife Maurice. They interrupt Jericho and they tell him that the highlight reel was canceled instead for the Miz TV. Miz TV is obviously his version of this talk show. So you've been watching on SmackDown. What are your thoughts on Miz and Maurice?
I really don't like The Miz. I just think he's kind of like a giant puss. He just irritates me. And then Maurice, just following him around like this lost little puppy is kind of sad. So I personally was just so excited when Ambrose came on and was like, nope, we're gonna have, what did he call it? Ambrose.
His show's called the Ambrose Asylum. So this would have been your first Ambrose Asylum watching also.
Yes, and I didn't get to see too much because, it was just them bantering about the jacket and stuff. But it was great. I thought it was great. I like how he suckered Miz. He came and punched him or whatever. And that was good.
So this whole opening segment, which went for 20 minutes, it ultimately led to setting up the main event of the show, which would later on go to be Dean Ambrose and Chris Jericho would take on The Miz and a partner of his choosing. So, right. Throughout the show, there were little segments throughout the night, and one of the fun things was you had mentioned that Dean Ambrose gave Chris Jericho a jacket, and that was because months ago when they were feuding, Dean ruined Chris Jericho's jacket he wore, which was much nicer than the one that Dean gave him.
I think he said
and
this.
Worth every penny. I'll have to send you a GIF or a picture of that later on. But it was funny because me as a wrestling fan, knowing history, it's funny to see that type of stuff pay off. And I'm curious what you thought of the jacket because it's a new concept to you.
It was hilarious. I mean, I was imagining, I could just imagine a $15,000 jacket, and then you've got this thing. I think one of the commentators actually said that it looked like a third grader stapled Christmas lights to it. That actually cracked me up. But I thought that was good. I also enjoyed how Jericho pretended to cross Ambrose off his list, but then he put him back on when he walked away.
And I think that's the first time anyone actually got themselves off the list. But then moments later, Dean kept, so excitingly hitting Jericho, to psych him up that Jericho got annoyed.
He's like, you're still on the list, mofo.
So the main point of the show was it was building up to this match. And come main event time, Dean Ambrose and Chris Jericho basically took on The Miz 2-on-1 because no one wants to tag with The Miz.
No, I mean, he was like begging people basically, but then he would get all mad when they'd say no. So I was like so anxious watching. I'm like, who's he gonna get? Like, because he got that secret note or whatever. I'm not even sure if the person that he actually did get was his partner. It was kind of weird how that played out.
Part of me thinks that there never was a partner, but then I don't understand why some random person came in and was like, "Here's a letter," and okay, so basically the whole match goes on, and then the last minutes of Raw, the lights go out, and Bray Wyatt appears. So Bray Wyatt gets involved. I don't, like you said, I don't think he was supposed to be the Miz's partner.
Well, even the
'Cause
Miz looked kind of surprised. Like he's like,
exactly.
wait, what? Like you're not who I was expecting, but hey, I'll take it at this point because they're beating my ass."
So Bray Wyatt comes in, hits Sister Abigail, I believe, on Dean, and uh, the ultimately I feel like the show might have been kind of a waste because it built to nothing.
It really
Because
did. I actually, when it was all said and done, because they didn't, nobody really won or, nobody got counted out. There was nothing. Like, it was just kind of like, okay, it's over. And I was just like, wait, is it over? Am I missing something?
well, I think unfortunately it's part of the little awkwardness that we're in right now since the draft happened, or Superstar Switch Up, whatever they called it, and Bray has to find a place on the Raw roster. How's he going to fit in? He's currently feuding with SmackDown's champion Randy Orton. They're going to have a match this Sunday at Payback, which I don't expect Bray to win, but then maybe he does because I don't think the title's on the line anymore.
I'm super excited for the Payback. Like, they've been talking it up this whole episode of Raw, and I'm actually really excited for it. I think it's going to be really good. But, I mean, Bray's whole gimmick is it's just too much for me. Like, maybe I would enjoy it more if I was there in person, but I'm just like, okay, this is really cheesy. But I do like the fact that he did come in and help Miz because he was like just getting beat on by two people. But at the end, he was like, "Don't touch me," and then he gets the Miz.
Yeah, I like Bray. He's been around for a while. I'm curious as to what a House of Horrors match is. What do you think it's going to be? Because they haven't really given us any details.
Well, I'm pretty limited in my experience of like what type of matches that they can have because, I was even asking you earlier, like what the heck is a dumpster match? Like, I
Well,
feel like
Dumpster Match was the first of its kind, but this also House of Horrors match first of its kind. But you've been watching for a few weeks, so you've been listening to what the commentaries at least hinted at. So going into this Sunday, what do you think's going to happen?
I don't know. I mean, like maybe they're gonna be in like a cage of some sort, or I don't. He's talking about like his worst fears and stuff. So I'm not really sure. What do you think?
I don't know what they're going to do. I'm hoping they go super campy with this, and it's a pre-recorded match, and there's a whole bunch of shenanigans, and maybe they go into each other's dreams because Bray Wyatt has very unexplainable powers that seem to change feud to feud. There's no real limits to his abilities.
I would
So,
enjoy that, but I hope they don't go too much into that gimmick though, because well, I mean, I'm not really sure, and maybe our viewers can comment below and tell us what they think. But I'm just not into his gimmick. It's just kind of cheesy for me. Like I want a little bit of it and more wrestling. Like for the couple weeks that I have been watching wrestling, I've only seen Wyatt fight tonight. So, like, he's got all this talk and gimmick and stuff, but I just want to watch him wrestle. Like, get out there. So, I hope it's not too much of that.
I'm curious as to what it actually ends up. But now, speaking of first-time matches, we have the House of Horror match, but you got to see your first dumpster match. So, what were your thoughts about that?
Oh my goodness. This match was just silly. I mean, when I went into the match watching it, I was like, oh my God, Strowman is just going to rip Callisto up. Like, there's no way. And watching it, I mean, he was beating him around like a rag doll, but I really, really enjoyed the athleticism from Callisto, you know, him being smart about it and fast and stuff. And even though he was getting beat up, he ended up winning the match because he just outsmarted Strowman. So I enjoyed that, but that didn't end very well for Callisto.
Not at all. Now this again is like a classic little guy versus a giant match where the little guy Kalisto, he comes out, he hits a lot of kicks, he's trying to jump off the ropes, he's using his strengths, which is being fast, being agile, and the announcers early on kind of mentioned that Braun's not your typical big man. He is very strong, but as we saw last week against Big Show, he can do drop kicks. Like he's a very agile big man.
Oh yeah,
so,
he's just as athletic as some of the other smaller people.
Which I have to give a lot of credit to him because it's very true. This guy, you know, he's way better than when he first debuted, and if I showed you a match from when he first came out, you'd be like, this guy is trash. But now he's doing pretty well, and he keeps doing very impressive things, and I honestly thought Kalisto was going to get destroyed here. I thought he would just get thrown in the dumpster. And
I mean, he did get destroyed, but
but won. Not right away.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, he got destroyed pretty much the whole match, in my opinion. Like I said, he was thrown around like a rag doll. But, I mean, he did win somehow. But Strowman was pissed after that. And he, you know, put him in that dumpster and tossed him over the ledge on the stage. That was insane.
So, yeah, Braun basically destroyed Kalisto. Like you said, he put him in the dumpster, dragged it all the way up the ramp, then got to the stage and pushed him, Kalisto, in the dumpster off the stage. It hits on the side. You have all these backstage people coming out and paramedics. They go to break. They come back, and Kalisto is getting put on a stretcher or one of those boards to get put on a stretcher.
I was waiting for Strowman to come and throw him off the stretcher. I'm surprised he stopped.
I was expecting more of a beatdown, but then I was also expecting Roman Reigns to come here and save Kalisto during the match and like be the good guy that they want Roman to be and help Kalisto, but that didn't happen because this is all building to Sunday where Roman takes on Braun.
Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking is, yeah, I get what you're saying. They want him to be that good guy. And that just goes back to what we've talked about, you know, where Roman Reigns is supposed to be the good guy and Strowman is supposed to be the bad guy, but people love Strowman. Like, he's putting on this awesome show and he's just this badass that people just can't stop liking. But yeah, I thought Roman Reigns should have came in too, but that's what they're doing. They're building up to this payback show, and that's why I'm so excited for it.
So come Sunday, who do you want to see win?
I want to see Strowman win. I feel like such an ass for saying that, but I think that he is, well, I mean, I haven't seen him fight Roman Reigns yet, but I feel like he's the better wrestler. And I think the better wrestler should win, bad guy or good guy.
I also hope that Braun Strowman wins, and I think that's a failure on WWE that you're still a very recent watcher, and even you would prefer Braun to win. And I'm sure it's partly because Braun just does crazy things. You know, it might be a little campy, but he's still, everything he does, whether it's flipping ambulances or throwing dumpsters off of stages, I would rather see that happen than anything Roman brings to the table.
There's no denying he is fun to watch. But that, you know, kind of brings us to another one that I'm really anxious to talk about, because I think it's another, you know, one of those storylines that they're trying to go a certain way with it, and we're, you know, like, what the heck are they doing, is with Alexa Bliss. What did you think about that match? Because I know you like Alexa Bliss, so I want your opinion on this one.
I'm an Alexa Bliss mark. That means that there's no reason to why I might support her, because she's a bad guy, and even though I blindly like everything about her. And you originally started watching SmackDown, so you saw a lot of Alexa Bliss, and on SmackDown, would you agree that she was a badass there?
I liked her a lot on SmackDown. Her personality, like just the sassiness, reminds me a lot of myself. So I was like watching her and I was like, yes, I love this little sassy little person. Like she's awesome. But I was so disappointed when I saw her on Raw with that the Fatal 4-Way. She was just so cowardly. And she brought that cowardly behavior again this week, and I'm still disappointed. I'm like, what are they doing with her?
Right, because last week when we were watching the show live, you and I were texting, and I was surprised how you picked up on that. How on SmackDown, Alexa Bliss, she was the women's champion because she earned it. She deserved it. She could go in the ring and back it up. And now I know I was excited to see her on Raw because it gives her more possibilities, new people to feud with. But in that Fatal 4-Way from last week, she was a coward. And you're the one that pointed that word out. You're the one that really brought, like, why is she acting this way? It seems...
And last week I thought to myself, okay, maybe her only saving grace is that Nia Jax is a beast. Like, she's a freaking beast. So maybe she's just, I thought to myself, okay, maybe she's just being kind of cowardly because Nia's just a beast. And who wouldn't be scared of her? All the other girls were a little bit, you know, on edge fighting her too. But when they came out again, when she was, you know, feuding or talking with Sasha Banks and Bayley, you know, and she started being a coward again when Sasha Banks challenged her, I was like, seriously, okay, it's not just Nia Jax. This is her. This is her character. She's not that little badass anymore, and it's slightly disappointing.
For me, it's very disappointing because this Sunday she has a match, and I don't think she's going to win. I think that they're going to have it that Bayley retains her title because Bayley's that super fan that everyone's supposed to like, and when push comes to shove, at least Bayley versus Alexa, Alexa is a coward that can't bring it. And I hope that's not what they do with her character. I'd prefer that Alexa just wins because she's better, but I also don't want her to win because of cheating cowardness tactics.
If she wins for cheating cowardice stuff, I'm going to be really disappointed. I mean, I would like to see her win against Bayley just because I want that little badass back. But if she's going to be cowardly, then yeah, I want Bayley to win because I'm not interested in that. I want people who are good wrestlers and not just, you know, because that's how she won the Fatal 4-Way. She snuck into the ring when everybody was down and out, and she won.
Yeah, I am worried about Alexa Bliss, but hopefully something changes. They realize that the way her character was on SmackDown really worked, and just because you may not understand what goes on in SmackDown doesn't mean that you should just pick up on or make up a character trait and go with it, because I think that, like, I was so excited to see her go to Raw because I'm like, if this character comes over, it brings a lot to Raw, and Raw is a 3-hour show, so sometimes it can get difficult, but I do peak up when the women come out because both Raw and SmackDown, they do have their strength. All these characters, they're kind of good, and now we're getting a nice little mix, but it seems at least this one very specific character is not being true to herself.
Yeah, I agree. But, I mean, I think out of everything, like, this show was decent. Like, I was really hooked on it with those, like, you know, 3 big things. There was a couple other fights, and we can talk about those if you want.
Yeah, give me, what other things did you like about tonight's show?
The other match that I really enjoyed was the Cruiserweight match with Neville and TJ Perkins, and then Gallagher and Aries. I really like this whole Neville TJ thing that's going on because, like, Neville's taking TJ under his wing or whatever, and TJ's like getting like this bad streak, it seems to me. Like, he's like, you know, doing things that aren't right, and he's like fighting dirtier, and I don't know why I like the bad guys so much. I'm trying to figure
bad guys
it out.
tend to be more interesting. That's always been a thing about wrestling, is that the bad guys, they create conflict, so their characters tend to be more developed. So,
well, right. I mean, Gallagher, I don't know, he's just weird to me. So every time I watch him, I'm just like, ooh. But
and he's a fan favorite for me. It's a little I like him. The music, his look, his move style. Sometimes when he brings out the umbrella, it's campy fun.
I mean, overall, though, I thought it was a good match. I enjoyed, obviously Gallagher and Aries won, but I just enjoyed watching them fight. It was a fast-paced match, and I do feel like Aries kind of dominated it, but it was action-packed, so I enjoyed that match a lot.
Yeah, I did. I could go on and on about cruiserweight stuff, but again, you're still getting exposed to it. And I like how, I guess you could see the difference that these smaller guys are. They're faster. I guess you kind of point out even when we were texting that like the sequences that these guys do are more impressive than you can get from some of the other stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, and then with the cruiserweights too, like even though it is more faster paced and like the sequences are more difficult and stuff, I've also noticed there's not um as much experience, I want to say, and maybe people are going to be so mad at me for saying that. But I think I told you earlier, I noticed a couple times, I think it was last week or maybe the week before that TJ, I saw him set up for the next hit. And I was like so disappointed when I saw that because I was like, it ruins it for me.
I think it's a very fair point. A lot of these cruiserweights, they don't have as much experience as other people on the roster. So other matches like this, like the 3-on-3 match between Samoa Joe and the Club versus Seth Rollins, Big Cass, and Enzo, but Enzo got pulled out, and your boy Finn Balor got put in. That match is, like I told you, it was 5 of like their best solid wrestlers. So those guys have way more experience, and while their style might have been a little bit slower, like that is a different style match that can be appreciated for just like, oh, you guys are just solid at what you do.
Yeah, well, and I can appreciate both for their unique, characteristics, the cruiserweights, and then the match with Big Cass and Finn Balor and Seth Rollins. I can appreciate the differences, but I did enjoy that match more, the one with Finn Balor. I love Finn Balor, so that's just like me. But I felt like that was a really good match.
Well, here's a little behind the scenes. Ash bought a Finn Balor shirt tonight.
I did. And if you guys keep watching, I am planning on doing some videos while we record these audio things, so maybe one day I'll wear it for y'all. But
I just want to get your opinion on Finn Balor because he's this big international star that had and has a lot of hype to him. So what is it about his character that you like? Because I know you're also drawn to Dean Ambrose, and that makes sense to me because a lot of women like Dean Ambrose for being like that bad boy.
well, I also like Seth Rollins too, so maybe that gives you a little more insight. But Finn Balor is kind of interesting for me because when I first saw him come out and stuff, I was like, well, who is this little munchkin? Like he's weird looking, like his face is just strange, and he's tiny, and tiny guys don't really do it for me. So I was like watching him, and then I just grew to love him because he's confident and he wrestles confidently and he's athletic, and I just like his the way he presents himself. It's just weird. Like, it's kind of like with Alexa Bliss, like, big things come in small packages.
All right, so Raw was 3 hours, and when we opened the show, I asked if it was worth your time. Now that we've kind of talked through it, I kind of like to hit that point again. Looking back, now watching the whole way the main event played out, everything, was it worth 3 hours of your time?
Honestly, Josh, the last couple times I've watched, they've all been worth my time because I'm like new to this and I'm so excited by the storylines and everything. And this one definitely was worth my time. The only thing I was a little bit disappointed about was how the main event played out. I just thought it kind of left some loose ends and it was just kind of anticlimactic. So, I mean, I enjoyed the whole 3 hours, but at the end I was like, wait, what?
And I mean, I'm pretty sure you and I will turn tomorrow night for a SmackDown review.
Most definitely.
Are you looking forward to SmackDown? I mean, now you've seen like these shows. They have their different feels. They have their different rosters. They have their different storylines. Do you bleed blue? Do you bleed red? Are you starting to feel any type of allegiance to a specific show, or where are you at?
I I'm not quite feeling any allegiance to either one right now. I'm kind of just enjoying the storylines on both. I mean, if I had to answer, I would say Raw at this moment, just because we just watched it. It's like fresh in my mind, and it was, exciting for me. But I enjoy the stuff that's going on SmackDown right now too. So I'm really looking forward to watching and reviewing tomorrow as well.
All right, I am also looking forward to tomorrow. And Misfits, as you can tell, Ash and I had a lot of fun watching the show and reviewing tonight's Monday Night Raw. But if you guys liked it, please hit that like button. That lets us know what you guys like. And if you like that, please press subscribe so you can get more wrestling reviews and video game content. Ash is really pushing that video game stuff. Ash, if you want to let everybody know, like, what are your ideas of what's coming to the channel soon?
Well, I'm trying to record like some one-off games. Like I said, I'm going to try to start doing some videos with my recording of me playing. And I know we're going to record some games together. We're going to get back into Minecraft, and we've been playing some GTA, and I think we'll probably record some of that. And, if there's something specifically that the viewers want to see us play, I hope that they'll ask too, because I'm down for trying a new game. I know Josh and Red are. So tune in, and hopefully you'll like the content and subscribe for more.
And Misfits, always do leave a comment. That's the way that you guys can reach out to us. I know there's a few select of you that exclusively will just email us, and we email you back. And I believe the email for us is actually, I don't know. Red knows it. I forget right now, so that's kind of bad on me. But I hope you guys like the show, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Have a good night.